Hello, I'm David Bianco. Welcome back if you've been here before, and if you're a subscriber, a special thank you. If this is your first time, I appreciate you joining in. Today is Thursday, September 8th, and today the world lost Queen Elizabeth, who had reigned for the longest time I'm sure anybody will ever have in the monarchy, coming in at the age of 25 years old unexpectedly. And so in music, that makes me reflect about Britain and growing up in the early 60s. And so today's going to be a bit of a journey. It's my episode 45, so I will be talking about some 45s and the British band that I love the most, the Beatles. And that's next on the sound of Safe and Sound, Texas. So today marked the end of an era with Queen Elizabeth having passed away after her reign for so many decades. And we mourn with the British people, of course. And again, for me, as a young boy growing up and enjoying music so much, early on, I was exposed to the Beatles. And I was exposed to the Beatles maybe a little bit differently than most, because although their big splash in the U.S. was on Ed Sullivan in February 1964 when they stormed America, I happen to live in Gary, Indiana, and that's the home of the Jackson 5, which I'm sure you have heard before, and Michael Jackson, of course. But there was a label that was out of Gary, formed by an African-American couple, actually, Vivian Carter and James Bracken, a husband and wife team. They used their initials for the label, Veejay labels, but it was spelled VEE-JAY Records. And so they started this label in Gary, Indiana in 1953. And they had some R&B hits and things going on for many years. And their real notability, of course, is in the 50s. They had blues singers like Jimmy Reed, Memphis Slim, John Lee Hooker, the Dells, the Eldorados, so D. Clark. I mean, they were a little bit of a force on their own. But the one thing that really got them going was assigning a few white acts, meaning the Four Seasons, their first non-black act, and the Beatles. So Veejay acquired the rights to some of those early recordings by the Beatles through a licensing deal with EMI, because the American affiliate, Capitolrecords, was initially uninterested in the group. Kind of sounds like what happened with Decca Records across the pond when they first heard of them, and then EMI picked them up. So the early, distributions in 62 to 64, the Four Seasons and the Beatles material with From Me to You, Thank You Girl, Please Please Me, Do You Want to Know a Secret? So basically those are the things that came out. And then the subsidiary called Tally Records came out with Twist and Shout and There's a Place, because Capitol refused to release Beatle records. I mean, that was what was happening. We sit here today, think about that and go, whoa, talk about your missing the boat. Well, sometimes things at the time don't seem to be anything that would work out. Well, Veejay's releases weren't all that successful, actually. I happened to have gotten a few because they were local, and they had them sitting in the record shelves in the stores there in Gary, Indiana, because they were people from Gary. So, I said, that looks interesting. So, we had they had the first one of the albums of the Beatles here on Veejay. And then they did a few others like Beatles Tell All. And then they did another song and pictures of the Fabulous Beatles kind of records. So they were trying, to promote them and to get them moving. But the Veejay releases, although they were at first unsuccessful, they quickly became huge hits when that British invasion happened in early 64, and they sold 2.6 million Beatles singles in a single month. I'm surprised they had that much inventory or could press that much. But the label eventually, had financial issues and fold, and Veejay lost the Four Seasons to Philips Records, and obviously they lost the Beatles to Capitol, and Capitol had a cease and desist on them. And so this is how I connected to the Beatles even before they got onto the U.S. soil. And so I was thinking about that a bit today and reflecting on that. And I also was thinking about some cool 45s I have of the Beatles that I've acquired over time. And these actually were for jukeboxes. These were for jukeboxes only. And so we've got Norwegian wood here. And on the flip side, of course, we have If I Needed Someone. So this is a black vinyl. And here we have the ubiquitous Love Me Do. And on the other side, we have P.S. I Love You. But then they did some cool stuff. They got into some color 45s. And so this is one of my favorite Beatles AB flip side hit records. We Can Work It Out and Day Tripper in this hot pink kind of a color. Then we've got You've Got to Hide Your Love Away on this one. And the flip side is I've Just Seen a Face with a little bit of an orangish yellow tint there. Then more of a yellow tint here. We've got The Fool on the Hill and The Magical Mystery Tour for this one. Going back to a bit of a pinkish one, we have Yesterday, which is, of course, a reflection of everything in life, and Act Naturally. Here's a little bit of a, let's see if this is, clearish kind of color on this jukebox 45 for the Beatles. And it has Two of Us and Across the Universe, one of the later ones. Okay. It's a bluish All Too Much by the Beatles, with the flip side being Only a Northern Song. Go into a little deeper blue color here. And we have Blackbird on one side. And we have While My Guitar Gently Weeps on the other. Moving to a greenish color here, we have What Goes On. And I'm guessing Nowhere Man on the other side. Yep. I remember what was on the flip of that one. And then we have Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, a pinkish, reddish, pink hue kind of color. And When I'm 64, which I am no longer. I am now 65, so I can't even sing that song. Doggone it. Good Day Sunshine by the Beatles in a yellowish tint here. And on the back side of that, we have Here, There, and Everywhere. Again, these are jukebox singles. We have The Long and Winding Road on this side, this bluish color, and we have For You Blue on the flip. Julia is on this side of the clear 45 jukebox record with Oblada on the other. Paperback Writer is in this reddish pinkish color, and Rain, of course, is on the flip, coming from Revolver, which I think there's going to be an EP on that on this big box set that's coming out soon, October 28th. And then lastly, this light yellowish color of Got to Get You Into My Life, as well as Helter Skelter. So, reflecting on some 45s, those are kind of unique ones. Their color, it was kind of cool when they were in the jukeboxes. These sound excellent. When I was younger, I used to hang around at places that had jukeboxes, and I knew the schedule of when the guy would come to change out the records, and I got to know a few of them, and I got a set of these through them before they ever went into a jukebox, actually, which is good because jukeboxes tended to tear records up. So that's kind of my reflection today with the Queen's passing and British music and what it meant to me. I was a big collector of the actual Capitol orange and yellow label swirlies that would be used for all of their initial hits that came through starting when they arrived in 1964. I have all of those as well, but they're boring black, of course, as opposed to these that were a little more colorful. So I thought I'd share that with you today. Just something to reflect on that musically ties in what happened today with music and with some things that happened in my life and the early side of the Beatles, the Vee-Jay side, that was kind of a local thing that I knew about and kind of prepared me for them in some ways, but I honestly don't think anyone was prepared for what happened when they arrived, and then they went on Ed Sullivan and the ascendancy that came from there. So to all of you who are out there in Britain or anyone who really had an affinity toward the Queen, we offer our deepest condolences in the vinyl community and here in the U.S., and we reflect on the life that she has had. She's really going to be irreplaceable. She was she blazed a lot of paths in a lot of different ways, and you talk about hard act to follow. I think that would be what I would call her for sure. Well, again, as always, I thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And if you like the video, a thumbs up is helpful. Also, if you have any comments, always nice to hear from you. And so for now, I'll say goodbye to you and welcome you back next time to the sound of Safe and Sound Texas. Take care, everybody.